Hi there. Are you tired of having your non-stick pans last for 6 months? Oh, was it only 3 months? Or maybe only 1 month? And then everything started to stick. And didn't the label promise that it would last for 5 to 10 years? Well, stay tuned and I'm going to help figure out why those pans are sticking and how to make it last as long as possible. Hi there and welcome to Cookware SOS. Today I'm going to try and do my best to help make those non-stick pans last a lot longer than 6 months. Even the least expensive pan should last a lot longer than that. One thing we need to do though is learn to get over the labels. I know a lot of times you'll go into a shop and sometimes there's an entire wall of non-stick pans and no one there to help. So you only have the labels to go by. And the labels generally all say the same thing. You can put them in the dishwasher, you can use metal utensils, and they can take high heat. Well, I have to say that's true. They can. But once you take it home, you need to look at the back side of the label or look at the instruction guide to really find out how to make that pan last a long time. Because definitely, put them in the dishwasher, use a metal utensil and put them on high heat. They'll work. They'll work for a little while. They'll work for 1 to 6 months. If you follow the recommended use instructions, then you're going to get that full life out of the pan. So what are the differences? Well, they're going to tell you to cook on low to medium heat. They're going to suggest using silicone or wood utensils. And they're definitely going to say, don't put it in the dishwasher. And why is that a problem? Well, let's start with the dishwasher. Now, what's so bad about the dishwasher? Well, it's not all the dishwasher's fault. Detergents nowadays can be quite abrasive, sometimes acidic, and the constant rubbing up against the non-stick coating will degrade it considerably over time. The dishwasher itself, they can be quite powerful, so there is a lot of shaking and clattering around in the dishwasher. So if you put it next to anything sharp or heavy, you could potentially scratch the coating and dent the pan. That constant heating and cooling is also bad for the connections in the pan. So if you have a nonstick pan with a plastic Bakelite handle that's screwed in, that constant heating and cooling will loosen the handle over time and you'll have to keep tightening it up again. If you think about it, dishwashers and nonstick pans were a lot like penguins and polar bears. They were never meant to meet. Dishwashers and nonsticks do the same thing. They make your life easier. So just a little soap and water and your nonstick pans will be clean and ready to go again for your next meal. Don't bother with the dishwasher. So, can you use metal utensils in a non-stick pan? I would definitely say you can, especially most modern day non-sticks. A lot of them have multiple layers, some made out of titanium plasma. They can definitely withstand some metal utensils. But I do have to say that they probably are thinking of a nice, relaxing Sunday morning, flipping over some fried eggs or maybe a few pancakes. They're not thinking about rushing the kids off to soccer practice and then heading out to your own school board meeting. and being a little kind of heavy-handed at with your metal utensils. Those over time could definitely wear the coating and cause some scratching. You also have to be aware that, some people will take knives into the pan and start cutting up the food while it's in the pan. That coating is not meant to withstand knife cuts. Take the food out of the pan and use the cutting board, as that's what it's there for. You also need to be a little careful with things like shellfish and like rib bones and things like that, because over time, if they're going to be scratching on that coating, it'll wear those as well. But definitely nice, easy, stirring some soup. You shouldn't have any problems with the metal utensils. Now, probably the most likely reason that your nonstick pan has started to stick is that it's been used on high heat. Now, high heat can be bad for a couple of different things. The main one is burning. A lot of times you'll cook with something like olive oil that has a low burn point. Sometimes if something's got sugars in it or cornstarch, those things can all start to burn and then potentially leave residue behind. Now, because of the non-stick coating, you can't use anything too abrasive to clean it. You can't use an SOS pad. You can't use Comet. So then no way to get rid of that residue. And then things, next time you cook, will start to stick to that residue. And then it'll just keep building and building and building on. Now, you can potentially get rid of it by fill it with water and some baking soda. Let it simmer for quite a while. Get a silicone whisk or spatula to kind of help break it up. And that should help get rid of the residue up to some point. It happens too many times, this probably won't be able to fix it anymore. Now, the second problem with high heat is something called thermal shock. Thermal shock will happen when you get a cold pan and you stick it right on a hot element. You can also get it the opposite way by putting a really hot pan under cold running water, which I know most of us like to do at some point. We like to hear that sizzle. But for most pans, and non-stick especially, that can be really bad. The thermal shock is going to twist the pan or warp the pan. That coating has been meant to take the shape of that pan. So every time it warps, the potential is that the coating is going to start to separate. Once it starts to separate, it's going to be much more likely to be caught by a utensil and start to peel. Best way to avoid that, as well as to avoid burning, is to start on a low temperature and then gradually move it up to medium. Then you just let the heat build. It'll give you more time in case things start to get a little too hot. You can back off the heat a little bit. And a lot of modern non-sticks also have sensors built in. So you might have a red dot or a green dot, something that will let you know when it's time to cook. And then it will also let you know once it's come off the element and when it's cool enough to wash again. So there's lots of ways to avoid these problems. I know most of us have kind of grown up being able to put their stainless steel pots on high, especially if you're just boiling water. But for nonstick pans, it's really not a good idea. While medium heat can give you more control over the cooking of your food, the pan can still get overheated, burn your food, and potentially damage the pan. Don't be afraid to turn the heat down. So there we have it. Those are my 3 big tips on how to make non-stick pans stay as non-stick as long as possible. So you want to avoid putting it in the dishwasher. Be careful with your metal utensils, as well as don't cook on high heat. That should really help protect those pans. There are also some little things that you need to pay attention to, and a lot of that is storage. Are you stacking your pans? A lot of times it's good to put just a couple sheets of paper towel in between, or get some cheap felt rounds that'll stop any incidental scratching. I know some companies will even provide a little storage bag, and that's a good idea as well. So I really hope I've been able to help a little bit. If I have, please click the like button so I know that this is what you're interested in. And if you don't want to miss another episode, if you're always looking for tips on your cookware, hit the subscribe so you don't miss anything. And if you have any questions I haven't been able to answer, please put some comments below and I'll be happy to help. All right, thanks so much for joining me here at Cookware SOS, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye.